wags the dog. Looks like Teddy Christopher to the string they come. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we've been waiting for. Get out of your seats, make some noise, and give them a wave. This is the greatest race in the history of spring, Napa style, from the Stafford Motor Speedway, and everybody is up and waving their hats. There's nothing like it. It starts your heart pounding. You've been all over the place, Mike Massaro, but there's nothing like Stafford and the Spring Sizzler.
You cannot duplicate this, and the crowd is into it. You can see by the waving of the hats. They're up on their feet, ready to see the green flag fly here for the Spring Sizzler here in 2017. We expect nothing but excitement for the next 200 laps.
We certainly do. The Whalen Engineering lights are off at the pace car at the point of the field. Joe Koss is here at Broadcast Central, and our special guest today, Mike Massaro, will bring the field to green for the start of this year's Napa Auto Parts 200, the Spring Sizzler from Jackaroots Stafford Motor Speedway.
Doug Coby to the inside, Todd Szegedy to the outside, wheel to wheel, looking for the Emerald Silk. It's in the air, and give the jump to Coby heading into one.
Coby is able to clear Todd Szegedy by the time they get down to turn one. The battle is on for third. Here's Eric Goodale digging down to the inside lane of Ryan Preece off turn two.
No question about it. He was already in the winner's circle earlier, but it is Chase Dowling who's already applying the pressure. He works up to the top five. Single file, the top five head back to turn one.
Rowan Pennick finally getting down to the bottom of the racetrack heading into turn number one. They'll go single file off. Turn two, down the back straightaway. You'll find double wide racing for the sixth spot. Rowan Pennick finally getting shuffled back to seventh as they now get straightaway single file headed to start, finish, and down into turn number one. Doug Coby continuing to hold the advantage.
Likes to be out in front of these races. Is that Mayhew Tools number two for Doug Coby. Looks in the rearview mirror. He's got a car length in hand back to Todd Szegedy, who's getting a lot of pressure from Eric Goodale, one of those strong Long Island contenders, running in third.
He certainly is, and meanwhile, it is Ryan Preece who settles into the fourth spot. Further back, side-by-side racing, it's the 7 New York of Donnie Leah as it picks up yet another position. Now works over the 00, the Goose Eggs car, and that is, of course, TC Ted Christopher. That's currently running among the top 10.
Christopher battling for that real estate off of turn number 4, but Leah able to get up underneath him and holds the position down into turns 1 and 2, but Christopher still fighting for position, Joe, as they head down the back straightaway.
Yeah, Craig Lutz trying to find room down to the inside lane, didn't have it there. You look up a little bit, we see some battles now. Rowan Pennick, winner the last time out at Thompson, works down to the inside of Ronnie Silk, and he's trying to bring Donnie Leah right along with him in turn 1.
It certainly does seem to work because Leah just follows him through. Rowan Pennick a few laps ago looked like he wasn't going to be a contender. Back up front, battle is for second. Going, gone. It is now the Eric Goodale machine running in the runner-up spot.
Trouble in turn number 1 and 2 brings out the first caution flag of the day. 6 laps into the 46th running of the Napa Spring Sizzler. Looks like the 33 machine of Wade Cole. One of the cars involved, it's actually Gary Byington in that 38. Melissa Fifield, the other car involved.
So the first caution comes out 6 laps into the record books in this Spring Sizzler. Kind of interesting, we see that Rowan Pennick, at the start of the event, he tested the waters, got aggressive, and then all of a sudden he settled in. Once he got some heat back in the tires, well, they're looking pretty good, but we're only 11 laps into the record books. A year ago, that was the car that won this event. Kind of appropriate to be the car leading this event right from the start. But set back, relax, and hold on to your seat because we're going back to green. And this time, Todd Szegedy is trying to give a run for the money with Doug Coby, but Coby has that bottom line, and it seems to work down the back straightaway.
He kept those left side tires just glued to the inside of the racetrack through that corner all the way down the back straightaway, and he's opened up what appears to be about a car-length advantage now over Goodale, heading down to the start-finish line back into turn number 1. But right now, Coby has looked incredibly strong from the start, Joe.
Very smooth as he enters the corner, and that's one of the keys here at Stafford. The top 5 now have been able to stretch out single file. We start to see Rowan Pennick continue to make some noise. This time he's looking for the 6th position as he tries to take that away from Justin Bonsignor.
Donnie Leah also trying to follow him through. Justin Bonsignor, he's running a completely line a little bit up the racetrack. Further back, here comes car number 16. Silver, black, and red. That's Tim Salamito. He's trying to wait and get things, well, settled in just a bit before he starts to go. And look there's Woody Pitcat as they come off turn 4.
Piquet has his hands full there entering turn number 1. Nerf bar to nerf bar. A battle deep in the field, but Piquet will get the position as things sort out on the back straightaway.
A little further ahead, we see 2 cars on the move. Donnie Leah continuing to press forward. Now he goes to the inside of Rowan Pennick, who gets a bit sideways off turn number 4, rolls out of the throttle, and settles back in line. So that puts Donnie Leah up inside the top 6 in a steady march to the front in the early going.
That is one of the quickest cars on the racetrack, and you can visually see that as things start to settle in. Battle is for the 3rd and the 4th position, and Ryan Preece's car suddenly developed that caffeine twitch we sometimes talk about. It was evil, and Chase Dowling is right there on his back bumper.
You know, it's interesting. We mentioned Kobe able to take that bottom shot all the way into turn number 1, left side rubber all the way to the bottom of the racetrack. Meanwhile, Ryan Preece not able to do that. The car washing up the racetrack just a little bit. We'll pay attention as he heads into turn number 1. Can he get it down to the apron? That time he did a much better job. Did not open the door.
We try to protect that outside line, too, because here comes Chase Dowling right on his heels as they go down the back straightaway. Dowling peers down to the inside lane, rolls out of the throttle, and is content to follow Ryan Preece here, still just 20 laps into the Spring Sizzler.
Look a little further back in the field at the bottom of the top 10. Pitcat is coming forward along with the Matt Swanson machine, car number 89. That's at the bottom of the top 10. Back up front, Chase Dowling is still all over the Preece number 6 car. Can't find the magic yet, but he's definitely applying the heat.
The heat, definitely. Pressure is there. Off of turn number 2. Preece looks in his rearview mirror. He's got a big black race car looking to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to pick up the spot in turn 3. But Preece shuts the door, heading off 4.
A lot of momentum comes with a win in the Spring Sizzler. Chase Dowling has already done that today. He knows he's got a really fast race car. And remember, he's not running for points, so he can be as aggressive as he wants to be this year in the Wheel and Modified Tour. And that 15 car looking very, very good here, running in the 5th spot.
You know, we talked about Teddy Christopher pitting early, didn't like the race car. Well, I think he's starting to like it now. He just passed 4 cars in 2 circuits, and he's marching forward with that 00. Remember, pit strategy is going to come into play in this event. We are now 22 of 200 in the Napa Spring Sizzler from the Stafford Motor Speedway.
And Doug Kobe has now opened up a 3-car length advantage, leading the Sizzler here down into turn number 1. Meanwhile, Goodale running 2nd. As they head down the back straightaway into turn 3.
Keeping an eye a little bit deeper in the field, we were talking about Ted Christopher a moment ago. One guy that was toward the front of the field was Ronnie Silk, and that number 82 has backslid a little bit. He is now back behind Ted Christopher, who just went by him a moment or 2 ago. And that's not what we expect out of Ronnie Silk and that team. They have been very good. Silk is a past winner here at this racetrack, but this car right now just doesn't have the handle as he has struggled to stay inside the top 15.
He certainly has, but who has picked up and brought his A game to the track is the 00 of Ted Christopher. Every time by, he seems to be getting a little quicker. He'll dabble a bit to the bottom, then work some magic and go back to the outside. A car that is being pressured heavily is Rowan Pennick, the blue number 3 car by Justin Bonsignor. Bonsignor can reel him in, but he just doesn't have enough speed to make the move and get on by. Bottom shot, turn 2. Bonsignor and Pennick. Wheel to wheel. Off turn number 4, we've got a position change there.
And Bonsignor just took the spot away and almost 3 wide heading into turn number 1. As Pennick and Bonsignor have to take evasive action to get around the 01 machine heading down the back straightaway now, and the 01 machine off the pace.
A good solid run here by the man just 2 cars behind Bonsignor, running in the 9th spot. Craig Lutz, a rookie a year ago. Got a new crew chief this year, a brand new race car in the process, and he's had some solid runs to start the season, running 9th right now. He's another one of those guys who doesn't have a lot of laps around this racetrack, but if you can get around this track, Mike, as you had said a little bit earlier on in the broadcast today, then it proves that you can be pretty good just about anywhere, and you got to tip your cap so far to that 56 car of Craig Lutz.
Yeah, not easy to get down these fast straightaways into flat corners. And that's what they've been doing all afternoon, and they will do anytime they come to this racetrack. And so far, Doug Kobe has proven he's got a pretty good ability and a pretty good race car right now.
Let's go back up front, and it is Todd Zegedy with that number 85 car. That team is a combination of a couple of different teams. The old JR Precast team with Bob Keaton is involved, and that's not the only player that makes the magic on that team as well. The other crew chief was very familiar with Todd Zegedy's style of driving.
Yeah, old things become new again no matter where Todd Szegedy goes, he seems to find Donnie Barker, and that combination just seems to work. Donnie Barker has tried working with other drivers. It's been a crew chief combination that has just worked with Todd Szegedy and Barker. But remember, back in the day, Barker was a car owner.
That's
when
right.
Todd Szegedy won his championship back 14 years ago. Now they're driver and crew chief, but they still have this chemistry that keeps that car up front.
And the owner of the car is Kevin Stewart. That team has won a lot of the big open shows, those big $10,000 big pay races that are held at some of the short tracks in the area as well. Don't underestimate the black Tom Baldwin, number 7 New York, the Bardall race car for Donnie Leah, because Chase Dowling looked like Superman with his cape out a few laps ago, and now Donnie Leah is really bringing his A game back to the competition here.
And I had the opportunity to speak with Tommy Baldwin Jr. just before the start of the race, and he was awfully excited about this. Of course, he's got great memories of when his father used to race here at this racetrack. And Tommy Baldwin Jr., very active in the race team, not only owning this particular modified, but going to be an active member of the crew when they do come down pit road. Tommy Baldwin Jr., as you may or may not recall, used to change tires at the Cup Series level. He'll be changing tires today on that modified.
Joe, look what's happening there with lap traffic, because it is going to cost Todd Szegedy second if he's not careful.
Wade Cole acts as a pick, and Szegedy is able to get around the outside. Goodale had drawn alongside Szegedy, but now falls back 2 car lengths. Ryan Preece closes in, but more importantly, here come Chase Dowling and Donnie Leah.
Anthony Nacella down in pit road, mechanical problems there. Back down into turn number 3. Zegedy's had enough time playing with the lapped automobiles. He moves back in his comfort zone in second. Meanwhile, heavy traffic directly behind him, and it appears that Preece is stuck in that traffic, and he has to watch out because Dowling and Leah, Bonsignor, and Pennick are all in pursuit of that position.
Heavy congestion through the corners. We're seeing that now. Several cars not being able to maintain the same pace that the leaders are right now, but the leaders deftly maneuvering. Have to be very smooth going around those cars because there's not a lot of racing room there, and certainly the primary line is on the bottom, but that's not available when you've got those slower cars there.
You know, Joe, when we talked to Tim Solomito before the start of this event, one of the things that he said that he feels confident in is he now can let the racetrack and the race car come to him on these runs. He likes a long distance run. He doesn't like those short sprints, and I think you're seeing a sample of that right now.
Yeah, and that stare at Tools number 16, trying to crack the top 9 positions. He's been working over Craig Lutz the last couple of laps right now for Timmy Solomito. He's a driver that's going to come on late in a run. You're not going to see him sprint out early, but then 40 laps to go, all of a sudden you're going to say, hey, where did Timmy Solomito come from? So right now he may be biding his time, being strategic in how he navigates through the field. And Mike, as you said, got to be careful. Deep in the field, you got some lap traffic, but he knows he's got a good race car, and he's showing that he's got a lot of speed in it.
And I find it also very interesting, and we see a car get sideways in turn number 2, and the yellow is out.
Second caution flag of the day here today in the Napa Spring Sizzler. Slows the event 41 laps in. It's Kyle Elwood who has gone around in turn number 2. Green flag back out in the Napa Spring Sizzler. Ryan Preece on the inside lane. This time looks in the rearview mirror, and it's full of Justin Bonsignor. But here comes Kobe to challenge for the top spot.
Well, it looked like Kobe was going to be able to move in and take over that position, but Ryan Preece had a whole different strategy there. Back in the 3rd position, Bonsignor is hunted down, and that time the 3 of Rowan Pennick was literally sideways, rim riding and running that car off the right rear tire. That's going to cost him.
Battle right now for 5th position. That's where you'll see Todd Szegedy on the outside, that purple and yellow number 85, trying to find his way back down to the bottom of the racetrack. Chase Dowling on the inside of him right now as they head into turn number 2. But that's the best battle on the racetrack. Szegedy getting shuffled back. Give the advantage to Dowling.
Trouble now. Teddy Christopher, car number 00, has lost about 8 positions on the racetrack, and it looks like the Sapienza Motorsports car is setting to the outside wall of pit road. Bid for the lead up front.
Kobe peeks underneath Ryan Preece. Preece has held the spot out front since pit stops at about lap 49. That gave him the track position he needed. Kobe, though, had the dominant car early on and just going to work, studying right now, Joe, trying to figure out what the best way would be to get around Preece at the perfect time. Right now, he knows he's got a good race car, Just doesn't want to make a mistake trying to get around Priest.
Yeah, and he is searching. You could tell. Watch him as he gets down into turn number 1. He's a little bit higher than Ryan Priest. Sometimes he runs a little bit lower. You see the difference in the lanes. He's trying to figure out exactly what Priest is doing, where he's beating him. And I think if there's anything that Doug Coby is really good at outside of driving a race car, it's studying his competition. And I think that is one of the reasons why he is a 4-time champion.
I agree with that, and he's showing just a perfect example of that. Textbook story there. Priest still continues to guard the spot, but Doug Coby is there. Further back in the field, Lutz, and now Todd Szegedy, he's slipping further back with that number 85 car as he drops back into the 7th, now make it the 8th position. Now he's all the way back to 9th.
And Szegedy just can't seem to get back down on the bottom of the racetrack. He fought hard to get there in turn number 1, but for a long time, couldn't do it. We've got a car with trouble in turn 2.
Looks like the Goodale car.
Yeah, Eric Goodale went around when Szegedy was trying to come down the racetrack. Goodale got pinched underneath Donnie Leah. The car did a lazy spin to the left, almost had it saved, and as soon as he hit the grass, it just cut back to the right and across traffic. And that'll slow us down for the 4th time here today, 74 laps in. Mike, this is decision time. You're coming up on that point where you could come down pit lane and take tires. This race has had a very green flag feel to it so far today, as many Spring Sizzlers have had. Is now the time, or do you wait a little bit and see if you can save those tires for the end?
It's going to be interesting. You know, I don't have the answer to that question. We're going to find the answer to that question momentarily.
Certainly will.
But it hasn't been all that long since the previous pit stop. So I don't know. I think I'd be somewhat surprised to see a lot come down pit road right now.
Taking a look at timing and scoring on the last completed lap, 18.348 was Ryan Priest. Doug Coby was 18.309. So there's a little bit of the differential going on there. We'll reset the field for you. Priest is your leader. Doug Coby is second. Justin Bonsignore is third. Rowan Pennick is fourth. Chase Dowling is fifth. Robbie Summers is sixth. Craig Lutz turning in a good run in 7th. George Brunhutzel, the 28, is 8th. Timmy Salamito is 9th. And Todd Szegedy sets in 10th. Just out of the top 10 is Donnie Leah, Ronnie Silk, Matt Swanson, Matt Zakem, and Sean Salamito.
How about the driver of that number 64 car? I was going to mention him under the green flags, running 6th right now. Robbie Summers putting together a really solid run. Came out of the gate strong at Myrtle Beach, and a lot of folks said, hey, that's one race. Let me see you do it again. And he's been strong the first 3 races so far. Raced towards the tail end of the field when he started this race, navigated up through traffic, earned and fought his way to the front, and now is running in 6th.
Here's where some of that tire strategy is going to come into play, perhaps. Down in pit road, John Gates is there.
Teams have come into the pit area right now. Donnie Leah, of course, Max Sackham, Teddy Christopher. You got the 48 team as well. Also the 64, you were just talking about Robbie Summers. Looks like he is scheduled to come in, but the team says he's not sure because Robbie is running so good right now. So it looks like a rear tire change on the number 20 of Max Sackham. The Starrett number 16 machine is also back out, and he'll be heading back out onto the speedway after some adjustments.
Well, the Salamito car returns and joins in the competition. That 64 car that Joe Koss was talking about of Robbie Summers, Ronnie Uhouse used to be the driver. He was involved in a violent accident at New Hampshire International Speedway, which kind of shortened his racing career. He then took over the role as being the crew chief. It's a great racing operation. They call it the A-Team, and it's very, very strong and getting stronger. Robbie Summers has won in just about everything. He's won in super modifieds. He's competed and won in the SKs here at the Stafford Motor Speedway and won some of the big open events. So he's a real wheelman. It's nice to see him having some success here at Stafford again.
Yeah, very much so. We'll restart on the outside of row number 3, that white number 64. 78 laps complete when they come around to get the green flag here on this next restart as we approach the halfway point of the 46th running of the Napa Spring Sizzler.
Off turn number 4. Green flag is back out. And Priest, with a little power assist from Bonsignore, tries to hold on, but here comes Doug Coby. Off the turn, they cling and they clang as they head for turn 3.
They are glued together at the hip, side by side through turns 3 and 4. Coby gets a little bit sideways, dirt tracks it off the corner, trying to find a way around Priest, but Priest holding strong on the inside.
Coby likes to lead these races, and he's being aggressive here now on this restart to see if he can get it done. Dead even across as they make their way down the back straightaway. Outside lane, it's Coby, but the advantage right now on the bottom is Ryan Priest.
Certainly is. They cross the stripe, and it's still Priest, but that margin is suddenly disappearing ever so slightly. Now look a little further back. All of a sudden, Kobe changes his strategy. Trouble down the back straightaway.
Rowan Pennick involved. Several other cars as well spinning on the back straightaway.
Tim Salamito is also involved in that number 16 car, and it looks like the number 85 of Todd Szegedy, as the left front tire is down on the Rowan Pennick car. We saw that car literally airborne at one point when the caution came out, and there's the Szegedy machine. It's got a cone underneath the front of the race car. And that car really had gotten evil since the last caution. It really had, as he was struggling with it. There's no question about that.
And they were among the teams that stopped over the last course of pit stops. Obviously, one would assume to make adjustments to the 85. Whether or not that contributed to what just transpired, who knows? It certainly looked like it happened ahead of him. Maybe he had no place to go.
Certainly does. And again, it appears that the number 3 car, the Rowan Pennick race car, does make it back out. You know, when you showed us that picture earlier, it was the Mystic Missile, car number 4, in the photo. We should mention that it's been a very long time that I ever remember calling a race at the Sizzler when Bob Garbarino's Mystic Missile wasn't in the starting line.
I got to be honest with you, Ben. This was an impromptu visit on my part. I decided yesterday I was going to come down here, and when I got here for the pit party, I was surprised and disappointed that the 4 was not here, and so sad for me as well. It's been a long time.
It certainly has, and that was a car synonymous with running up front with the top drivers in the country. They're heading back down on pit road, Joe. There is the Brunhutzel car. Donnie Leah is back in. The 17 is in, and the Salamito and the Pennick car.
Interesting to see that 7 New York, Donnie Leah back on pit lane. Just a handful of laps to go under that last caution flag. He was on pit road as well. They are now going to come around, change the right rear tire on that 7 New York as they try to play this tire strategy game here a little bit for Donnie Leah.
Joe, recap again what the situation is. 2 different compounds is the story. In that combination, there is a softer one that may make a huge difference, but there's another one. But will the soft ones go the distance?
Well, you've got to play that game, right? So maybe if you want to play that soft tire strategy, you'll pit 30 laps to go. The challenge is, Mike, is you don't know if you're going to get a caution with 30 laps to go, so you can really maximize that strength of the tire. Because what does a softer tire do? It's faster for a shorter period of time. However, if you go a little bit too far, all of a sudden the back end sliding out all underneath you, and you don't have the strength to power up off the corner and take advantage of it.
High risk, high reward.
That's right.
So you've got to time it right when you want to use that tire to maximize the results. You know, you may want to use to get track position if you're in the back of the field. Perhaps that's what the 7 is doing at this point. If you're running top 3, top 4, 25 laps to go, do you do it to give it a shot to get the victory? Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, sometimes you have to look at how many cars are on the lead lap at that point because that plays a factor as well.
Certainly does. Back on pit road, the Starrett number 16 car, they're working on the left front suspension. Look a little further down underneath the Napa Auto Care Center billboard, and you've got Todd Szegedy's car. They're working on the right suspension.
Yeah, he had the tie rod that looked to be broken as he came down pit lane. That left front was kind of wobbling back and forth separate from the right front. So certainly some suspension damage on the 85.
Well, currently we've got the car that's gained the most positions on the racetrack, and that's 10 positions for the 64 of Robbie Summers. Another car that's been quietly moving forward is the Lutz number 56 and the number 89 car, picking up 9 spots there as well.
So 85 laps complete so far. The battle continues to rage now between Ryan Preece and Doug Coby. We'll see how aggressive Coby is on this next start. Mike, we've seen him go on the attack on these starts, and you notice that he wants to be out in front of this race.
Yeah, and that's where he was for the early stages of it for sure. They come off of turn number 4. Coby to the outside, Preece to the inside, green flag in the air. And once again, it's Preece through the gearbox. The quickest. He's got a nose out in front, headed to turn 1, but Coby not going away.
Certainly isn't. He gives it his all. Doug Coby back in command. Lap number 87 when they cross the stripe. And here comes, no surprise, Chase Dowling. He becomes the tail that wags the dog, but Preece, he says no way, and he pulls it back into line.
And a great battle up front. Coby back out on the point right now. Priest, can he rally back? He's a car length back heading to turn 3.
Sails it deep down into the corner, closes almost up to the back bumper of Doug Coby. But Coby's car launches off turn 4 with much more speed and is able to open up that advantage once again and keep Ryan Preece at bay. Chase Dowling is settled into 3rd. Behind them, a wheel-to-wheel battle. Goodale trying to find racing room down to the inside of Ronnie Silk.
Certainly does. Right there with him is also Woody Pitkat. Then it's the Zapienza machine, and Ted Christopher, he's also trying to get back into the thick of things in this event. 89 laps of 200 in the Napa Auto Parts Spring Sizzler. Dominant leaders, been 2. It has been Doug Coby and then Ryan Preece.
Doug Coby, your man right now. He's got a 2-car length advantage. Ryan Preece trying to reel him in, but still plenty of racing to go. 110 laps remain. None of these drivers want to use up their stuff just yet, and Ryan Preece knows that trying to chase down Doug Coby, who has such a strong race car right now, has some risk to it. He could burn some stuff up, use some stuff up before it's time. It's not go time yet, but he knows he needs to maintain striking distance as we get closer to the finish.
Well, if I'm Ryan Preece, I know that the last time my car was on pit road, I had the fastest pit crew. And I know that a second-place car, I can get to the lead because my guys on pit road right now, today, are the best here at Stafford. Doug Coby on the other side has said, you know what, I need as much ground as I can because the last time I came down pit road, I lost 4 spots. I want to gain those spots on the racetrack, lead this race, and put destiny in my own hands.
All of a sudden, car number 58 makes its move, and it is the Goodale machine, now setting in position number 6. That forces Silk back to the 7th spot. Woody Pitkat is 8th. Zapienza is 9th. And Ted Christopher sets among the top 10. 7 laps shy of the halfway marker in this Napa Auto Parts special event.
And I don't think anybody's surprised that Ted Christopher is among the top 10. 94 laps in after having to go to the back of the field early on. We've talked about his mastery of this racetrack, and he continues his charge toward the front.
And look who he's bringing right along with him. Max Zackham, who, 30 laps ago had a challenge because he had the fuel can sticking out of the back of his machine. And now Zackham putting the move on Ted Christopher, dives down to the inside in turn number 3 and picks up the spot.
Certainly does. He's moving forward rather quickly now as he settles back in. His next target becomes the Dave Zapienza, number 36 car, as they head down the back straightaway. Back up front, it is Doug Coby still in command. Margin between 1st and 2nd still staying pretty much the same. Then it's Chase Dowling in the 3rd spot behind Preece. 4th position is Bonsignor, and 5th spot is still Robbie Summers.
It's one of those interesting plays, Mike, because we're looking at the speed that 20 car Max Zackham has. He came down pit lane and already got some tires on that number 20 machine, which is going to put him in a good position when everybody else decides that they want to come down pit lane. You had talked a little bit earlier about whether or not you go hard or you take it easy. I think if you're Max Zackham, you got to realize that you've got the best tires out there right now among the cars that are in front of you. You don't want to burn that up for when they put on their new rubber.
No, it's a chess game. It really is. Trying to time everything just right. We're inching closer. Just 2 laps remaining before we get to the halfway point, Joe. We've already seen a heck of a display by Doug Coby. Yep. Doug Coby has one incredible race car, and he's proven that. He's off to a 6-car length advantage once again heading into turns 1 and 2, and he's shown no weakness so far.
Well, they name their race cars at Mike Smirglio Racing, and they name them by the racetrack that they win at the most. That car, guess what its name is? Stafford Speedway, because that car has gone to victory lane more times here at Stafford than any other car in their stable.
Well, they brought a good piece.
Further back in the field, guys, you got to keep your eyes on Donnie Leah. He's starting to move back into contention. And the number 48 machine is also picking up some spots with Ted Christopher. 100 laps are down, 100 laps to go. It's still Doug Coby dominating the racing action.
And Rowan Pennick just had a moment on the back straightaway. Earlier in the race, he was involved in a skirmish, and the car has not been right ever since. Got a little bit sideways coming off of turn number 2. Looked like he almost got on the wall on the back straightaway, and he's been off the pace.
And that racetrack closes up very quickly over there. There's not a lot of room coming up off turn number 2 before that outside concrete really starts to close in on you. But Rowan Pennick's got a lot of laps around this racetrack, eased out of it. He gave up almost a straightaway in distance among the cars that he was racing with. But he still has a race car with 4 wheels on it, and he was able to continue on.
Well, Ronnie Silk backed out of it just a bit, and that gave Max Zackham another position as he moves closer to the front. Donnie Leah with Ted Christopher and Salamito We haven't talked a lot about him, and we are now past the halfway marker, but Salamito is among the quickest cars in the racetrack. That STR at number 16 is working some magic, Joe, as he continues to try to hold off Lutz, who's having the run of his racing career.
Well, now is go time for Timmy Salamito. You get to the second half of the race, you've got an understanding of what kind of car you have underneath you. Get yourself in a good track position, not get too far behind, and start getting aggressive in the second half of the race, and that's exactly how he likes to run.
Another car that's closing up the gap is Eric Goodale's machine. That's the number 58 car coming off turn number 4 on Robbie Summers. Now, Summers is currently setting at the bottom of the top 5 in position number 5. But again, Goodale is still right there. Dave Zapienza surprising us. He's now up to the 6th spot. Max Acom is 7th. And then in the 8th position is the other Salamito car. And here's an amazing statistic, guys. The only car in the 18 on the last circuit was Dave Zapienza. And that's kind of a surprise to everyone.
That's actually a brand new race car. They were putting the finishing touches on it here today after learning some things on it from practice yesterday. What's unique about that is Tommy Grasso is a new crew chief for that 36 for Dave Zapienza. He used to work with Ryan Preece, learned a lot of tricks, and he said, I took everything I learned from Ryan Preece and Jeff Preece's dad in that 6 car, and I applied it to this 36. And it seems like Dave Zapienza likes the feel of that race car.
It certainly does. And, of course, the Grasso brothers used to be with Eddie Partridge, used to be the crew chief for guess who? Ryan Preece.
That's right.
Donnie Leah now moves into the top 10 with the Baldwin number 7 New York car. So he's starting to march forward as well.
And it's interesting, Ben, as we alluded to, he was one of the cars on pit road. And as Joe pointed out, taking that right rear. You got to wonder if that was the softer right rear that he went with as he picks up this track position.
Yep.
Certainly does. Back down in pit road, George Brunhutzel III. He's been in and out of pit road. He's had his share of problems. 110 of 200.
Max Acom continues to press forward as well. He's navigated up to 7th. He's been able to distance himself from the driver he was running with at the last time we talked about him. And that was Ted Christopher. He's got about a straightaway advantage there. 7th position now, trying to track down Dave Zapienza, who rides in 6th. 111 up on the scoreboard here today, and nobody, except for Ryan Preece, has had anything to challenge Doug Coby.
That is so true. Chase Dowling's car is starting to back up just a bit, and Justin Bonsignor is running right in his tire tracks as they head down the front straightaway here. Same type of a situation occurring with the Robbie Summers white number 64 car and the Eric Goodale machine. But now Goodale's forced to back out of it just a bit, and Summers gets a little bit better bite coming off the turn.
And Goodale able to close the gap slightly to about a half a car length off turn number 4, but Summers, his car seems to be working pretty good in that middle groove as he works the outside groove now through turns 1 and 2 and on the back straightaway, working through lap traffic, but it seems like he can work in multiple grooves. And
that's going to make it tough for him to pass or beat past too, because that middle groove allows you to block that bottom a little bit, keeps the guys that are trying to keep the momentum up there in the outside lane behind you as well.
Trouble. Joe, on the back straightaway, the number 85 of Todd Zegedy is just returning to the competition. He lost a ton of laps on pit road.
The last time the caution flag came out was lap 61, so he's been on pit road for quite some time.
And a shame, too. Certainly one of the pre-race favorites, Todd Zegedy, had a good race car early on, had trouble just before lap 60, I think it was about there, and since then has not been competitive, obviously, but a shame because a lot of people were talking about this 85 car coming into the race as perhaps one of the guys to beat.
He's been so good at this racetrack over the years. My first modified race here, watched Todd Zegedy go to victory lane, and so I remember from my first race here, you guys were talking about that a little earlier, how good he is. Today it's not going to be his day, but they can still learn a lot over the course of the next 80 laps or so.
Leader coming up on heavy traffic now is the number 17 car, goes a lap down as they head down the back straightaway. Meanwhile, a little further back, still that battle between Goodale, that neon yellow and orange and black number 58, still working over Robbie Summers. But Mike, you called it best. It seems that Summers has got the right pattern to be just a little difficult and it's working so far in holding on to that position.
He's got some versatility. You see a lot of the leaders able to hug that bottom groove going through turns 1 and 2. Now, Summers can do that, but it doesn't look like he's choosing to do that right now. It enables him to make his car just perhaps a little bit wider, more difficult to get around.
Sure it does. There's our leader coming up through traffic as Doug Coby goes to the inside of Matt Swanson. Uh-oh, we've got lapped automobiles both high and low coming off turn number 4 as Coby's able to make it on by that evil Brunhutzel car that's been way off the pace throughout the early laps.
And this is where Doug Coby needs to be very careful, working his way through lap traffic. He knows he's got a dominant race car, but like anything else, you got to worry about everybody else when you're making your way through lap traffic. And he was very careful there, and now that he's cleared himself from some of that lap traffic, he's able to set sail once again and start to stretch some things out. And we can really see how dominant that race car is now. The 2 car now nearly a full straightaway, almost a full straightaway ahead of Ryan Preece.
And if you're down in the front row of the grandstand, you could probably hear how early Coby's getting out of the throttle. That's one of the things he'll do when he gets a big lead like this, just to conserve the race car, conserve the brakes, the tires, the fuel. He'll lift only 100 foot past the start-finish line and really just coast down into the corner and maximize the performance of that car at the end of the race.
Joe, another car that seems to be backing up is Justin Bonsignore's, the Phoenix Communications machine, car number 51, as now we can see Summers is closing up the gap. Just a few laps ago, Bonsignore was a full straightaway ahead of that number 64 car of Robbie Summers.
Summers closing right in, as is Eric Goodale. Remember, Goodale spun in turn number 2 not that long ago, the last caution flag that came out. And so that points to the strength of that automobile. Good run down off the end of the back straightaway into the slight banking of turns 3 and 4. We've got a good battle shaping up there for 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
And while all that's been happening, Ted Christopher just pulled off a bonsai move to move down underneath the number 82 of Ronnie Silk. So he's still considered right in the thick of things here as well. Interestingly enough, the 51 of Bonsignore is now not only being pressured by Robbie Summers, but by Eric Goodale. And that distance is closing up ever so slightly, and there's heavy traffic, guys, just in front of them.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they tiptoe through that lap traffic right now. Zegedy on the bottom of the racetrack, he's a lap car. He'll be bypassed now by Bonsignore and Robbie Summers, working their way through there. No incident whatsoever. Very smooth driving.
Here's Bonsignore, works around the outside of the lapped automobile of Gary Putnam. Up ahead, Matt Swanson. That gives Bonsignore a little bit of breathing room as he was able to get by Gary Putnam off the end of the front straightaway. Now closes in on Swanson in that number 89.
Certainly does as they rumble back off the turn. The Swanson machine now finds its slot on the inside lane. Bonsignore makes it by. Here comes Summers, and right there with him is Goodale. About the same distance between each and every one of them. Meanwhile, Preece has kind of shaken off Chase Dowling here as the same distance separates them. But Dowling's car is, well, become a little bit harder to handle as we saw that car not as consistent as it was earlier. 129 of 200.
I think, Ben, that comes down to experience. 3rd place so far. The guys in front of him have got a lot more laps around this racetrack, and Doug Coby and Ryan Preece than does Chase Dowling. And there's an art to getting around this racetrack, and there's a reason why you see the same guys in victory lane time and time again.
Interestingly enough, Joe, the fastest car currently on the racetrack through timing and scoring is the 7 New York of Donnie Leah. So that car all of a sudden gets a 2nd win, and it is the quickest car currently on the racetrack.
Running in the 8th position right now. Still working through some of that lap traffic. Got a long way to go before he catches up to that silver number 20 of Max Zachem.
And in comparison to a lot of the cars in the field, he's got fresh rubber. So that certainly has helped the 7 car maintain that speed. How long he can maintain it? Well, we still have just over 65 laps remaining in this race. So whether or not he can maintain that pace is the question mark. And certainly the guys in front of them, they did not stop. Will they stop before the end of this race? I would think only if a caution comes out. But the 7 car fast right now. still a long way to go.
Well, you got to think, too, that everybody on pit lane watched what they did, saw that they took one tire. That was about 70 laps ago, Mike, and that's about where we are left in this race. And so people now know how that tire is going to react, courtesy of Tommy Baldwin and Donnie Leah.
Currently, we just saw that Donnie Leah came up on Dave Zapienza and gave him a little shot to the back bumper, said he is there and he wants some racing room. Max Zackham went around the Zapienza car, and once he got around him, guys, he's pulled away by about 4 car lengths. Meanwhile, look at Leah. He's all over Zapienza with that 36 machine, and Zapienza's car has gotten pretty wide.
A crossover move there by Leah. Works from the outside, dives to the inside, gets up underneath, and then washes up a little bit in turn number 2, but still able to maintain that spot.
Look at the right front of Donnie Leah's car, and it no longer says Hoosier, as he has really used that car up, getting it towards the front of the field. And, boy, he's got a handful there, that time coming off turn number 4. Car is loose, but he is manhandling it around this racetrack.
Back up front, guys, take a look. Eric Goodale, he's making a move on Robbie Summers. Deep into turn 3, bottom shot. They're side by side, wheel to wheel. Off turn number 4, Goodale has finally gotten around Robbie Summers.
And a great move. Went to work on Summers. Spent a few laps studying the line, trying to figure out where the vulnerabilities were, and then took advantage.
He sure did. And now watch Goodale. I think he's going to do the same strategy as he looks and follows Bonsignor, who's the next target.
Bonsignor currently runs 3rd. Goodale back in 4th. Excuse me, that's 4th position, Bonsignor. Goodale now in 5th.
Then it's Summers setting in the 6th spot. And then we believe up to the 7th position is Max Zackham, followed by the Donnie Leah, number 7, New York, and Dave Zapienza to round out the top 10.
Meanwhile, what can you say about Doug Coby? On another planet right now. An extremely good race car.
Anything can happen. If they do get another caution flag, though, that's what will stir the drink on this one. Coby with a healthy advantage, just about the entire distance between turns 3 and 4 over the 2nd place machine. Ryan Preece in that orange and white number 6.
And as these tires wear, these cars are going to become a handful.
Yep.
So you talk about that caution that could come out. Well, with 60 laps to go here or thereabouts on old tires, well, things could get a little bit dicey for some of these drivers, and that caution flag may fly.
Yeah, dicey is a perfect word for it, too, because coming up on 57 laps to go when Coby brings it down to the line next time by here in the Napa Spring Sizzler. And few have been as good at this racetrack in the history of modified racing as Doug Coby. Will certainly go down to the history books as one of the greats. 4-time champion, looking for his 4th in a row. Today, trying to dig out of that hole that they dug in the first 2 races. 13th at Myrtle Beach, dead last at Thompson.
Certainly was. And then don't forget, he won this race 1 year ago, so he's back in winning form, and that kind of set the stage for the remainder of the year, where he took down another title on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. Down in turn number 3, Bonsignor still trying to shake off Eric Goodale. He gains a little bit, then it seems to be a lapped automobile that kind of becomes the equalizer there as well.
Yeah, got to move around that 33 who's holding the primary line. All the drivers have to be extremely careful as they make their way by him. And they do. They clear him easily.
Behind them, Donnie Leah was able to get by Dave Zapienza not too long ago. Continuing his march to the front, but how about that 20? Max Zackham putting his name in the hat here to battle out just outside the top 5, challenging Robbie Summers down into turn number 3.
He's come a long way, Joe, from the back of the pack, and he had a little problem in the beginning of the event, but that problem has disappeared as he continues to work his magic over Robbie Summers. Summers' car is not as strong as it was about 10 laps ago, but Max Zackham's car seems to be getting even quicker as we work into the final stages of the greatest race in the history of spring. And Doug Coby's about to lap the 14th place car, and that is Salamito. That's something you don't see happen every day.
No, that just speaks to how strong the 2 car is right now. He's putting on a show. He's out there and lapping the 14th place car. That's impressive.
And for Salamito, it's certainly not gone to plan for him today. Expected him to be a lot stronger in that number 16 machine. He looks in the rearview mirror, and boy, is there anybody that wants the caution more than Timmy Salamito right now.
Certainly does appear that way, doesn't it? He finished and won the first race, second in the second, so he had a good average, but then all of a sudden that all changes here today at Stafford. Meanwhile, look at Max Zakem. He's got to make a bold inside move on Robbie Summers. Going, gone. It is Max Zakem up to yet another position closer to the front of the field.
So Max Zakem now up to 6th, right behind Eric Goodale running in the 5th position, down into turn number 3. And Bonsignor, his car has seemed to stabilize a bit. About 20 laps ago or so, we were talking about his battles, and the car was starting to loosen up a little bit. He's been able to keep Eric Goodale at bay over the past handful of circuits.
Look at our leader. Doug Kobe just went around Tim Salamito like he was parked in a parking lot. He made it look so easy. This is not the day that the Salamito team was hoping for by any stretch of the imagination here. Up in front of him, next target to be going down laps will be the Rowan Pennick machine, the winner of the last stop on the Wheel and Modified Tour.
And if you took a look at the front end of that Rowan Pennick machine as he came off turn 4, Ben, you could see that he's got his hands full. He was wheeling that thing. It was very loose coming off the corner, but he's just trying to get to the finish here, just trying to salvage this day. This day has not gone well for Rowan Pennick at all, but just trying to get to the finish and trying to hold on to that race car.
I'll tell you who it has been going well for, and that's Max Zakem, as he picks up yet another spot going around Goodale, and now he's starting to work over Bonsignor. That's the battle down in turn 1.
Bonsignor, clear racetrack up ahead of him. 2 or 3 car lengths in hand over Max Zakem as he continues.
We've got to spin. Car number 33, Wade Cole, will spin, and that's going to bring out the caution. This could be the deal breaker right here, guys.
And here they come. Pit road is open. Doug Kobe and just about everybody in the field on the lead lap will come down pit lane. The man to cover it all is John Gates.
Okay, Doug Kobe coming by me first here in the number 2 car, then Ryan Preece, then the 15 of Chase Dowling. Here they all come. This is going to be a crazy time here on pit road, race fans. This could be the race. As the race begins to get down to the winding laps, these guys here have got to do their job and do it right. It is back rear tires for the A team here. Robbie Summers, he is going to both rear tires on that machine. Also several other cars in here, including the 7 New York of Donnie Leah. Of course, the 20 machine, he just stalled. So Max Zakem has stalled the 20. He's back out in front of the 89. But it is chaos here on pit road.
Well, a car that picked up a lot of ground is the Max Zakem machine. Remember last time, guys, the number 6 car had the perfect pit stop. I don't think that's the story this time.
No, it does not look like it's perfect. Far from it. Very slow on pit road. Lost a number of positions, it would appear, for Ryan Preece. Couldn't duplicate the performance they had on pit road earlier in the day.
Interesting, because it appeared as though the problem was on the right front of that automobile. They had jacked the rear of the car up, went around to change tires on the right side, and that was where the hang-up was for the 6 car of Ryan Preece. Also, we see a little bit of interesting tire strategy. I believe, maybe John Gates can confirm for us, I believe the 58 car of Eric Goodale only took 2 tires because he picked up 5 positions on pit lane. He beat Doug Kobe off pit road, who took 3 tires on that round of pit stops and came out second.
Well, we mentioned Ryan Preece's pit wasn't stellar. He'll restart on the inside of row number 3 instead of on the front row, perhaps, where he might have been had he had the stop he had earlier. Let's see what he can do. Doug Kobe on the outside of row number 1, and he will get the jump. He's had the dominant car throughout the day, and he's the leader heading into turn number 1. Just by the front of that race car, he leads on the back straightaway.
He certainly does, and Goodale is forced to keep it low, tries to get back into it. Goodale gets a little forward bite right in the center of the turn. They come back to the stripe, and it's Kobe by inches.
Kobe working the outside groove. Goodale down low, trying to hold him off to no avail off turn number 2. Give the advantage to Kobe. He's able to nudge his way out front, dives to the bottom of the racetrack in 3, but then gets scooted out of the inside groove, and Goodale takes it back.
The old short track bump and run. Here comes Eric Goodale to lead the Spring Sizzler, and Kobe won't have any of that. gives it back to Eric Goodale, getting down into turn number 1, and here comes Bonsignor and Priest.
Priest tries to make the move inside. It doesn't work. Pulls back in the line. Bonsignor is up to the 3rd spot. Behind them is Max Zakum rounding out the bottom of the top 5. Single file. They head back to the line. It is Eric Goodale, the leader of the pack.
The intensity has certainly been ratcheted up. The top 4 cars, bumper to bumper through turn number 2. Ryan Priest trying to get that real estate back. Looking to the inside of Bonsignor, heading into 3. Has to settle back, rides his tire tracks through 3 and 4. And now looks to the inside once again off the corner.
Uses the apron to get that number 6 car to turn on the exit. Couldn't make it happen there. Bonsignor overdrives turn number 1, and here comes Priest to challenge to the inside for 3rd.
Priest moves into the 3rd spot. Back up front. Here comes Kobe. Kobe tries a bottom shot move. Goodale is hung out to dry in the outside lane. Doug Kobe back in command, 166.
Kobe used that inside line and then drifted just so slightly up the racetrack. That forced Goodale to get up the racetrack himself, and that gave the advantage to Kobe. Also now look at Priest right on the rear bumper of Goodale, headed through 4.
Yeah, Goodale's not done with Kobe either, because he is back to the accelerator, closing in, looks in the rearview mirror. Here is Priest. Outside attempt into turn number 1. Priest tries to put a wheel up there. Meanwhile, trouble. It's Robbie Summers who goes around. 4 or 5 cars involved, including Chase Dowling, Dave Zappienza.
Let's see what's going to happen. We're about ready to get him fired back up. Salamino coming out of the end of pit road just as we go green.
Look at Ryan Priest, tucked right up underneath the rear deck of the 2 car, heading through the first set of corners, chasing down Doug Kobe on the back straightaway. Kobe opens up just a little bit of a gap to the bottom of the racetrack. Priest can't take advantage just yet. Will continue to ride single file, running second to Kobe as he heads into turn 1.
And Doug Kobe away with the race lead. Ryan Priest to close in, looks behind, and there is Eric Goodale. Wheel to wheel for 4th. It's Max Zakum and Justin Bonsignor behind them. It's Ronnie Silk battling with Rowan Pennick.
We almost counted Ronnie Silk out. Pennick is still there, and there's Ted Christopher. He's now moved into contention with them. Pennick again. He's had trouble. All of a sudden, Max Zakum's car got evil. It literally scuffed the softer wall. Now it's almost coming to a halt on the racetrack. Will Max Zakum be able to get it back down, or will we go back to yellow?
Pancake the side of that number 20 pretty hard, getting up in there into the corner, and that'll bring out the caution flag. Mike, 18 laps to go. When they get the green flag, Kobe and Priest back on the front row. Couldn't ask for anything more to finish off the Spring Sizzler here today.
You know, it's quite the battle, and certainly Rowan Pennick, you got to give a tip of the cap to him as well, persevering throughout the course of the afternoon. It has not been a smooth ride for Pennick, but man, he is right there and has an opportunity. Can he take advantage? Well, he's going to have to get by 2 very strong race cars. Green flag out. Ryan Priest gets the jump from the outside of row number 1. Kobe not going away, though. He'll ride him up the racetrack and take advantage off of turn 2.
He certainly will. All of a sudden, it is Goodale who makes his magic known on the bottom. Silk is there. There is Ted Christopher and Pennick. Pennick and Christopher come together like 2 cymbals in an orchestra. Back up to 2nd, boys. Here comes Priest back in command. Goodale drops back, and all of a sudden he's back. That, of course, working its magic on the inside. Chase Dowling. He moves back into the 4th spot.
Chase Dowling looking to have a day here at Stafford. Already a winner in the SK Modified race earlier this afternoon, running 4th right now, trying to pull off the sweep on Sizzler Sunday, but has quite a bit of work to do because in front of him, Goodale, Priest, Kobe, 1, 2, 3, heading into 1.
And Priest is there. Kobe protects the outside lane. Here comes Priest looking inside, but Kobe the advantage on the back straightaway.
He does. A little forward momentum takes him into turn number 3 first. Priest is still there. Goodale is there. And now Chase Dowling, 4 cars, bidding for the number 1 position. Dowling moves to the inside. Doesn't happen. Pulls it back into line. Here comes Priest again to challenge off 2.
Priest to the bottom of the racetrack. Gets a wheel up underneath the rears of Kobe. They're Nerf bar to Nerf bar through turns 3 and 4. Ryan Priest has the lead off the corner.
Ryan Priest takes it on lap number 187. It's still not over with yet. Kobe settles back into 2nd, short-lived. Here comes Goodale, still in the 3rd spot, and back up to position number 4. It is Chase Dowling. Here comes Christopher. He moves into the 5th spot.
Overdrives the racetrack, and here comes Pennick. Contact now as Sean Salamino gets into the back bumper of Ronnie Silk, who goes spinning off turn number 4. And the caution flag back out again on lap 188.
There are 13 cars on the lead lap. Get ready, hold on, because we're going back to green as they head off turn number 4.
Green flag out. It's a dead heat down into turn 1. Ryan Preece to the bottom. Doug Coby to the outside. Preece has the advantage, but ever so slightly midway down the back straightaway.
Coby settles back into line to second. Here comes Christopher, though, using the outside lane from 4th. Now to challenge for 3rd. Goodale rallies back on the inside lane.
No question about it. Chase Goodale moves. Chase moves in. Goodale's right there behind him. As Chase moves in, makes his presence known. Dowling's up to the 3rd spot. Christopher still running high, wide, and handsome down to turn 3.
Christopher, who had to go to the back of the field at the beginning of this feature race, now running in the top 5, making a bid for a 4th place position. Riding Goodale through turn number 1. Christopher looking for some racing room, doesn't have it. He'll settle in that 5th spot.
Keep an eye on Chase Dowling, that black number 15. He isn't done yet. He is climbing all over the back bumper. Now looking outside of Doug Coby off turn number 4 as Coby now slides up the racetrack, but Dowling not able to take advantage.
Dowling tries it low, then tries it high, then settles back in. Little smooch to the back bumper. That was Doug Coby, letting know Preece still there. Chase Dowling does the same type of move. 5 laps remaining here in the greatest race in the history of spring.
Single file off turn number 4. Ryan Preece with a car length advantage, but a very strong Doug Coby riding his tire tracks through turn number 2. Coby, though, has got his hands full with Chase Dowling on the back straightaway.
Trying to focus on finding a way around Ryan Preece, but Dowling's just making it too difficult right now as Eric Goodale closes in. Dowling now looking again to the inside off turn number 4. Meanwhile, Ryan Preece has opened up 3 car lengths over Doug Coby.
He starts to literally pull away now, and Dowling continues to work over the number 2 of Coby. Here comes Chase Dowling. Took a peek inside, didn't work, gathers it back. Here comes the Goodale car as they work their magic off 4.
As they come to the stripe, there'll be 2 laps remaining. Doug Coby, who had the dominant race car throughout the course of the afternoon, down to less than 2 circuits off turn number 2 to close the gap between himself and Ryan Preece. Preece has the advantage. Coby trying to close the gap in 3, but still riding second.
A year ago, Ryan Preece was running in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's back at Stafford in the Whelen Modified Tour today, trying to check the box with a Spring Sizzler victory. A half a lap to go for Ryan Preece.
Down into turn number 3. Ryan Preece on top of his game here at Stafford. He heads off turn number 4. The greatest race in the history of spring. We'll see the name Ryan Preece atop the trophy. He will win the Napa special event from the Stafford Motor Speedway.
Folks, you want to give him a hand. Ryan Preece out of the car, and he is going to get a shower of water along with confetti as Ryan Preece drives the TS Haulers number 6 car to victory lane here at Stafford Motor Speedway. Ryan, congratulations, a Spring Sizzler victory this year.
Yeah, you know, I don't even know what to say, to be honest with you. A lot of hard work. That's all I really have to say. Working full-time on this race car. I've learned about race cars a lot over the past few years, and I've said to my father, I want to be in control, and somebody I really got to thank is my father, Jeff Preece, and Mike Paquette. They've just taught me so much growing up, and I'm just so excited that I've been able to apply it.
Ryan, the strategy for this race. I mean, you were trailing Doug Coby there by, at one time, I believe, 5 seconds, 3 seconds actually. So what was the strategy here with the number 6 car?
Beat him. No, but you know, he had the car to beat there in the first half, and those last 30, 40 laps, that whole deal just kind of plays into my hand, especially racing here full time. So, like I said, I really got to thank Eddie and Connie Partridge for believing in me, letting me come back, drive this TA2 car, and TS Hauler, Waddell Communications, FK Roddens, Goodrich Racing Lines, Sean Waddell Communications did a great job, and got to thank my future wife. We're getting married in less than 2 weeks, so I'm excited.